Hi everybody. So today I want to talk about our words and the condition of our heart. So we're going to start out with Matthew 12:34. It says, "For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." So what that's basically saying is, you've heard the saying garbage in, garbage out. It's basically telling us what is here is going to project to here and is going to come out here. So what are you filling your head with? What are your desires? What are your likes? Are you a very worldly person? Are you a very giving person? What is here? What is your heart filled with that makes your identity who you are, basically? So Matthew 12:34 is saying that whatever you're around, whatever influences you're around, is going to influence the way you think and the type of heart that you have. So the Bible specifically talks about our actions being considered fruit. The fruit we produce is our actions, and the words that we speak tell people who we are. It shows people what type of person we are by the way we act, the way we react, and the things that we say. So basically, you can talk a really good talk, and you can sound as sophisticated as you want to sound, or you can sound as biblically correct as you want to sound, just to make people think that you're somebody you're not. But the truth is that when you're not paying attention, other people are. So your actions tell people what character you really have. So basically, you know how when you hear somebody say, if you're going to walk the walk, you talk the talk. Well, don't just sit here and talk. You need to follow your words up with your actions. That tells you who a person really is. If their actions replicate what their words say, that's their true identity. If their actions are different from the words that come out of their mouth, that's not their identity. That's somebody just being fake to fit in. So probably more than likely somewhere they have no business fitting in at, because typically that's how it works, right? When you're an outsider and you want to fit in somewhere, you take on somebody else's identity. You listen and you mimic the words that they say to fit in with that crowd. And that's not what Jesus wants. Jesus does not want fake. He doesn't want lukewarm. He wants you to walk the walk and talk the talk. So the words that come out of your mouth need to replicate the actions that you take on a daily basis. In Galatians 5:22 and 23, it says, "The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance." Jesus teaches that your fruit, it tells you what. You can identify the tree by your fruit. So, in a worldly manner, somebody can look at a tree and go, oh, it has apples hanging from it. That's an apple tree, okay? Humanly, that's what we're going to look at, and we're going to put two and two together, and oh yeah, that's an apple tree. If you see a tree that has bananas hanging from it, obviously it's a banana tree, correct? So, Jesus is saying that you're either of this world or you're of me, Him. So, your fruit is either going to replicate worldly behavior through and through, or it's going to replicate to the best of its ability godly behavior. You're still going to have worldliness in you. There's no getting around that. You live in this world. You're going to have worldliness in you, and that's not the problem. The problem is, if you're going to be a Christian, you got to go all in. If you're going to be a part of this world, you got to go all in. There is no center. There is no, again, lukewarm. It's let your yes be yes or your no be no. You're either nope, you're not for Jesus, or yes, I am for Jesus. And in that case, you need to go all out and be for Jesus. That does not mean that we're not going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we're not going to mess up and say bad things, or hurt somebody's feelings, or do big oopsies, or break the law, or, I don't know, do worldly things. We're not perfect. That's the point of us being human, because we're not perfect. And that's the whole point that Jesus died on the cross for us, because he knew that we weren't going to be perfect. He created us. So there's leniency in that. That's not saying that if he gives us an inch, we ought to take the whole mile. That's saying that there's room for forgiveness. There's room for mistakes. But there's also room to swallow that pride and humble yourself and go to Jesus and say, okay, I messed up. Please forgive me. And if my mess up affected somebody else, please correct that for me. You don't want to be the reason that somebody else stumbles. You want to be the reason that somebody surrenders to Christ. That's a big one. Okay. So the fruit that we produce shows who we are as a person. Meaning, like I said, worldly or godly. Other examples: a wounded heart, it produces wounded speech. A prideful heart produces harshness. A peaceful heart produces gentleness. A heart surrendered to God produces fruit that looks like him. So, talk the talk, walk the walk. Fruit means evidence, not church attendance, not aesthetics, not positively posting verses online to prove that you're a Christian. Yes, we like positive verses. We like to see positive posts. But that doesn't prove who or what we are. It doesn't say anything about us other than we posted something. Fruit is what consistently grows out of you under pressure. So when you're going through a situation, how are you reacting to that situation? Are you acting the way the world does, or are you reacting the way a Christian reacts? Are you flipping out, cussing, throwing things, hurting people, hurting yourself, doing and saying things you shouldn't be doing and saying? Or are you stopping and saying, God, you got this. God, I give this to you. Take care of this. A few examples of how you react under pressure is when you're tired, what comes out of your mouth? What attitude do you have? Are you cranky? Or angry? Hateful? Or when you're tired, are you still calm, collected, polite when nobody applauds you? How does that make you feel? When you're not the center of attention, how does that make you feel? Okay, yeah. So, or I should have been the one there clapping at. I should have been the one getting credit for that. Humble pie, maybe. If someone cuts you off in traffic, I think we're all guilty of this. Do you get mad? Do you cuss? Do you holler? Do you rant? Yeah, I think we all do that. If someone is saying hateful things in a comment section of a social post, do you jump in and spread more hate? Or do you pray for that person and then let God lead you in what to say so that it benefits him and not the world? What comes to mind and out of your mouth when somebody steps on your toes about how you believe? Do you go off on them? Or do you just pray for them? Are your immediate thoughts negative? Hate speech? Or is it, not today, Satan. You don't have the power. The way you react in those situations show the fruit of your heart. That is spirit versus flesh. Spirit, you react in a godly way. Flesh, you react in a worldly way. In a way that fits in with everything and everybody around you, but doesn't stand out, because God stands out. God don't fit in, he stands out. In Luke 6:45 it says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. That means that our words reflect our inner thoughts, character, and spiritual state. A person's consistent speech and actions reveal what is truly treasured or stored up inside, serving as an indicator of their true nature rather than just fleeting emotions. Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Man, that right there, that verse right there, that's just a whole sermon in itself. But we're not going to rabbit trail, so we're going to stay focused on what we are. But we may do a devotional on that one day, on just that one verse, Proverbs 13:20, because wow, that just speaks volumes. Paul contrasts two things in Galatians 5. The flesh produces jealousy, anger, division, selfishness, impurity, meaning impure thoughts, and hatred, pride, resentment, things of that nature. The Spirit produces love, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control. That's where you see growth. That's where, instead of choosing to allow your worldly emotions to take over, you stop before you react. You stop before you say something, and you think about it, and then you say what you know you're supposed to say. You answer in a way that is going to make them stop in their steps and fall on their face and be like, what just happened here? Why didn't she get mad and start hollering and yelling and cussing and acting like she normally does? Why? What? I don't even understand. Like, please make this make sense. That person's mind is going to be so focused on the way they wanted you to react that it's going to cause them to do a double take and be like, wow, how did that even happen? Like, who is this person? What happened to her? She used to be this way and now she's this way. That's going to start a curiosity in them. That's going to plant seeds in them. When they see, they're no longer going to be excited about your reaction, because it's not going to be what they want to hear. A worldly person, okay, I heard a lot growing up, you can't expect a lost person to act saved. The best way to stop somebody in their tracks when you're trying to grow yourself as a Christian and you're trying to stand out from the world, the easiest way to do that is to not react the way you would have reacted before you got saved. Not allow your anger or your resentment or whatever have control over you. You immediately stop, and in the back of your mind, nope, Satan, you are not allowed to have any control. I rebuke you right now. God, give me the words to say. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Therefore, whatever comes out is going to be that of love, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control. Why? Because we stopped, we thought about it, we shut Satan down, and then we prayed and asked God to speak through us. That plants seeds. Because you're a new you. You're not an old you. You're not blending in with the rest of the world anymore. You're standing out. You're making a difference. You're blowing people's minds. You're showing them what God is, how God is, and what God looks like. That is growth. That is spiritual maturity. Not giving in and not acting worldly, that's wisdom. And that is hardcore growth right there. And that's not easy. It takes training, basically. You have to train yourself to not act like that, to not act out in public, to not be your old self. God doesn't expect instant perfection from us, but He does expect transformation. So when you get saved, it's not only your duty, but your obligation to not be who you used to be. You're to be set apart from this world, not to blend in with this world, not to just fake it till you make it. You're to show this lost world what God looks like, what love looks like, what peace, patience, kindness, and self-control looks like, what maturity looks like, what spiritual growth and wisdom look like, what humility looks like, what forgiveness looks like. That's how the bigger person acts. We don't act like we used to act, because that's not being a bigger person. That's being nasty. That's being ugly. That's being low. We don't do low. We rise up. We take a stand. And we be what we're supposed to be with the help of God. We don't have unhealthy actions with a good speaking tongue, basically. So if you're going to preach the Word of God, your actions better follow that up. Because God also says, I don't do lukewarm. I will spit you out of my mouth. Let's not go there. That's a whole nother message in itself also. Let your yes be yes, or your no be no. But you can't be halfway in and halfway out. Halfway through this, my camera went off, so sorry for the half video, half audio. But that's what I got for today. And I would love to hear you guys' questions or comments. If you have anything to add to it, leave it in the comments also. I do read them. And thank you for listening again, and I will see you guys next video. Bye.